Pick the Nintendo Shack and pray. Frederick from Fire Emblem Awakening says, yo.
Greetings, Kooplings, and welcome back to Nintendo Shack 287, aptly titled 3DS Remember Me. I'm joined by the OG, Mr. Kevin Austin. Welcome back to the Shack.
Hey, all the new Shack listeners right now are like, who the hell is this guy? Where is Rebecca? We want some Taylor Swift talk. Let's go.
Oh, Lord, save me. Kevin and I started PSVG many years ago, and we are of the original Nintendo Shack trio. Mm-hmm. And Rebecca, who is out at ZUthon this week, Kevin was nice enough to stand in and fill in for us, which was great. Obviously, I want to hear you tell me about your Pikmin adventures so far. But we're going to talk about Switch 2, and we're going to talk about 3DS, because anytime a new console like begins to sound, like when the drums begin to sound, I don't know if everybody else does this, but I always get kind of nostalgic, and I always go back and like start looking at previous consoles that were announced, because there's usually a lot of parallels, even if they're not even related. You just start to see, like, it's just, for anybody that's never done it, just go back and watch like an E3 or an announcement trailer and you'll just see some wild stuff. Console announcements are a crazy time. And we did this once for the Wii U. Now, today's episode will not be nearly as exhaustive as that episode was. It'll be the shorter version. But it dawned on me that we never did this for the 3DS, and we should have. So considering that you were here and that we have a new console to talk about, I was like, let's do a little bit of that. But before we get into all that, Kevin, you are our legendary Pikmin expert. You love this series. It is near and dear to your heart, man. Tell me all about it.
Dude, well, first off, so today on Facebook Memories popped that 10 years ago, I got Pikmin 3.
Wow. Yeah.
For the day. So
sounds about right.
Yeah. And ever since then, my marriage has been in jeopardy until this came out, which if you haven't been around, y'all can just go back and listen to some old episodes. You'll find out how that happened. But yeah.
10 Pikmin 3.
Yeah,
10 years. Man, it's been that long.
Yep. Crazy.
Wow.
And we were told Pikmin 4 was coming like 2 years after that.
It's done. It's in the hopper.
It's pretty much done. But anyway, you know what? I'm glad they didn't release it right away, because I have a feeling there was a lot of changes maybe that came forward, and we got Pikmin 4 instead, which I have beaten. My wife has beaten. We 100%ed, collected everything, upgraded everything.
Wow.
Got platinums and everything. You can get platinums in like the different Dandori battles and all that kind of stuff there. And I mean, I could just sum it up by saying, like, they really took the best parts of every entry and just made enhancements. They made it definitely more user-friendly for new players to jump in and get accustomed to Pikmin. While you might miss a little bit of the story nostalgia, as far as gameplay, this is by far the easiest and most fluid out of all of them. So It really makes for an accessible experience for everybody. The landscapes, again, Nintendo does this whole thing with water physics and mechanics and lighting effects and nature better than anybody else. Like, when you look at other games like PS5 and Xbox Series X, and you see like these great graphics, and don't get me wrong, there are tons of games that look better than the Nintendo Switch by far. But the landscape and nature in Pikmin 4 is better than anything else I've seen. Like, I don't see it. Maybe PC is a different story, don't get me wrong. But on console, like, it looks incredible.
I've long held to the belief that I don't think anybody does water better than Naughty Dog. Like, Naughty Dog's water just hits different. Like, when you hit waterfalls in Uncharted, you hear streams in Last of Us, it's just kind of better than everybody else's. They're like the Globo Gym of water.
It makes me wet my own water. But yeah, like, Nintendo just went further than they've ever gone, I think, with this. Even just little things as far as like audio cues. So I don't know if you've noticed, like, if you're playing, I'm not sure how much you played, but if you go fully submerged underwater, the actual audio of the game distorts along with it. So the background music sounds muddled.
Oh, that's a neat little trick. I have been in the water. I don't think I've been fully supported. I've 100%ed the first 2 maps.
Okay.
So I have not played a whole bunch. I actually haven't played in like the last week and a half or so.
Okay.
It is beautiful. I mean, I 100% concur to you there. They switched to Unreal for Pikmin 4. I think they can be owed a lot to that. In a brand new engine. It's nice to see Nintendo kind of get with the times. It's pretty cool.
get last gen at least, you know. But yeah, it's been a step up against everything. The length of the game really is what staggered me. So I'm going to stay spoiler free for anybody who hasn't played, because I really want people to go out and try this one. If you're on the fence, play the demo. So you'll get a good example of what it is. The game ends, you see credits, and then it immediately goes into like a second game.
Epilogue.
Yeah, and the epilogue is almost as long as what you've already played.
That's awesome.
Wow, this is a lot more than I was expecting. Well, when you beat that, there's more story that can be unlocked, and you find out something else that happened concurrent with the story that was going on.
Is there more credits? Is it like double credits?
No. It
okay.
that at least.
That would have been cool. They just keep doing that over and over again. That'd be funny.
Right, they make you watch it again. Still produced by Shigeru Miyamoto. But yeah, I love when you get to it, and you saw this in the demo, like the house, when you get inside of places, like you've never gotten to experience that in Pikmin, so that's really cool. The dungeons are incredible. The final dungeon, I'll phrase it that way, is extremely long. And it's kind of like, wow, I didn't think this was happening. And the boss battle is really epic compared to anything else Pikmin's ever done. So it's definitely Nintendo just went for it. To give it some criticism, I will say I do miss the fact that they took out the co-op aspect. Yeah. So yes, there's co-op in the sense that a second player can throw rocks at things, which does help distract and actually help you kick, enemies' asses from far away, and they'll actually get power-ups to throw bombs and stuff like that as you go along. But it's not the same as having somebody else be able to control the Pikmin and play along with you. So that was a little missed. And I did find that the multiplayer content that is there is lacking compared to what you had in Pikmin 3 with like the Bingo Ball battle, the enemy, fighting, the treasure hunting, the boss battle rush. There's none of that in this. You have just the Dandori battles, which gives you, I think, 5 maps, and that's it. I was really hoping more was going to unlock, and we may get DLC down the line that could come that way. It's
true.
But I do miss a lot of that. But those are really the only nitpicks I have, or my wife have had about it. We hands down think this is the best story, the best game that they've done. Even though overall I'd say it's a little bit easier than any of the other Pikmins, but I think that's a welcome change for a lot of folks who maybe didn't get into the series because of the learning curve and the time aspect. Oh, I got so many days and I gotta get this done. Like that's really eased up in this one. Hands down, but it's great.
What do you think about Ochi?
Love Ochi.
Yeah, that's gotta stay, right? Like, Rebecca and I, we've been dancing around that. Like, they can't come back with Pikmin 5 and no Ochi.
No, and I mean, I can't say something else. But yeah, the dog mechanic is I think is definitely something that's going to stay if they continue the series. I mean, who knows? It's they took over a decade.
There was a lot of talk about that after it came out. People were like, "This will probably be the last Pikmin we've ever seen." And I was like, "It's selling." It really pretty well for a Pikmin game.
It is the best selling one in Japan. I want to see how the US adapts to that, because I think that drives a lot of what we get. We could see Japan get another one, and we don't even see it. So that's a possibility. But typically, first party Nintendo games, it doesn't happen that often, especially now. But I mean, I don't think they'd be rushing to make another one unless this does very well, because they took a decade to release. In between.
Yeah, I imagine they'll do. Like, the next Pikmin content we get will probably be like in the form of like a Mario Party map or a mini game or a spin-off and something like that. Yeah, I mean, I imagine it would be a while before we hear from Pikmin again, but I'm not writing it off. I don't think Pikmin's not like F-Zero or Golden Sun or anything like that. Like, there'll be more Pikmin.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that because Shigeru Miyamoto loves this series so much, and it's so near and dear to what his beliefs are and his philosophy on life and exploration, stuff like that. Like, I think this game really kind of captures that more than his other creations have. Like, when you think about it, like a lot of them have been commercialized and just done this. I feel like while they want it to do well, I still feel like he's allowed to do whatever he wants.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he even like. That's a really good question. I wonder if he even like recognizes Zelda anymore. I wonder if it's like it's got to be way beyond what he ever thought of.
Yeah.
Based on, reading the manuals for the first one and his interviews in the 90s, like Zelda's incredibly different than his original intent.
Yeah, I think he's just got the executive credits on a lot of what he does, but I feel like his fingerprints are still very much all over this, at least as a love project for himself, you know. But yeah, it's really, really good. And I mean, I hope we do more. I hope we get some DLC because this is something that's really, really cool, and I want just more of it. You know, my kid is now playing it and jumped in too. So like we're the whole family's kind of watching this game play through for the third time already, and it's been out for what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I enjoy. I have enjoyed it. I wanted to get back to it, but I've just had a lot of like house stuff and home stuff and car stuff. So I've been wanting to like decompress and take out some stress in the game. So I've been playing like a bunch of shooters and action games and blowing stuff up and stuff. It's like I've been very much not in the Pikmin mood.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I don't want to, you know, hang out and find batteries right now. Like I need to kick some ass somewhere. I need to let some of this anger out.
Just murder Pikmin.
Well, I could do that too. Just stand
there and throw red ones in the water. Just watch them go.
Before we move into any of our topics, did you play Zelda?
No, I have not bought Zelda. I've been super busy reviewing stuff to the point that like I was like, well, by the time I was thinking about playing Zelda, Pikmin was that close to coming out, and I was like, well, I know my wife ain't letting me touch the Switch for a long time, so I was like, let me just wait. I did use my second voucher. I bought a voucher when I got Pikmin. Second one on Super Mario Wonder, but I do still want to get Mario RPG, so I might still do the voucher again and do Zelda Mario. But I mean, you know, I got the tattoo. I did at some point.
I did the vouchers, and I picked up Pikmin on my vouchers, and then I was going to do another set, but Metal Gear. I had to have a cartridge for Metal Gear.
Yeah, that
so Best Buy had a buy 2 get 3 if you signed on to the Best Buy reward plus.
Wait, buy 2 get the third free.
Get the third. It's like the same voucher.
You said buy 2 get 3 free. I'm like, wait.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Buy 2 get the third free. So I picked up Wonder, WarioWare, and Metal Gear.
Okay.
So that's my fall on Switchland. What about that Disney game?
I reviewed that. Just published it today. Actually, that is a lot of fun.
People love it.
Yeah, the animation style is great. It runs flawless on the Switch, which we don't always see with third-party games, right? Runs absolutely well. It is a Metroidvania light, I want to say. The map is still sprawling. There's lots of back and forth. That's there. But the game is definitely easier than like a Hollow Knight or something of that nature. It's not that hardcore. There actually is no combat though. You don't fight.
That's what I was just about to ask you: is if it's action based or if it's platforming.
Platforming based, even the bosses, as there are bosses, it's more you have to still do platforming to cause the environment to take out the boss. So you're not actually attacking things there. And the multiplayer aspect of it's a lot of fun when you can play up to 4 people. And you can actually turn the difficulty down so low that the characters can't die other than falling down holes. So it's really great for families who want to play with their kids. The kids want to play, but the kids always die and get frustrated.
That makes sense for Disney. That's nice.
Yep. So it's really well done. Little easy, but it is very well done. It's a lot of fun. It's a lighthearted romp as Metroidvania style.
What'd you score it?
8 out of 10. So
how much is it? Is it full 60?
No, I don't think so. I think it's 40. I could be wrong.
Nice.
Let me look that up now. But yeah, it's very good. It's very much like Rayman Legends. So it works out that way. The only knock I really had on it is $40.
Nice.
So the only knock I had is that some of it, Metroidvanias, you go back and forth. That's a given. You unlock new abilities to help you get to places you couldn't reach before. That's standard. That's fine. They kind of gatekeep areas with locked doors. Normally it's fine, but every time you hit a locked door, you got to find 3 keys to unlock the door. So you kind of backtrack, you find the keys, you go back. You do that a lot. After I got to like the 9th or 10th door, I'm like, I'm really sick of these doors. I wish they did something else. That's really the only downside for me was that I just got kind of tired of hunting down keys. I wanted to do different things, but voice acting, animation, top notch, as you kind of expect at a Disney project. But the voice actors are all Disney voice actors. So Disney really took involvement with it. And that studio has already said they have plans, if Disney wants them to, do other IPs for them as well. So if this does well enough, we could see more similar type of things come out, but it is very well solidly done. Great kind of indie game, I'll say in quotes, because it's only $40 and it's not.
I like the animation. It looks, it looks Mickey. It looks like the old fashioned Disney look to it.
Yep.
I was like, so they nailed that. And I've heard people talk about, very glowing things about it. So it was kind of on my, I wouldn't be a day one on a Mickey game, but like,
Sure.
I've always been like a bargain bin, like, epic Mickey fan. Like if I can pick it up for $20 or something, that was always good stuff back in the Wii days. Those were pretty good games.
And I could see that dropping, Black Friday. I could see this being for sure. I don't think it's selling gangbusters. It's just really very well done. Much like the Rayman Legends, where I think it'll be at the point that everybody eventually gets it, whether they got it dirt cheap or it was on, PlayStation Plus or, Game Pass, something like that down the line. It's only on Switch now. But it's definitely worth a play if you like those kind of platforming Metroidvania style things. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And they only use those 4 characters too, so they could touch on anything else Disney down the line. Just Minnie, Mickey, Donald, Goofy. Nobody else. That's everybody else's original characters created for the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we got news on the next Nintendo Switch, which was pretty cool because I was like, man, this is good timing. Yeah. I think Rebecca hates talking to me about the next Switch. We've been doing it for years. So I was like, this is a good time. Kevin can come in here. You're my last episode. I'm taking like a month off of Shaq.
Oh, I didn't know
I'm
that.
doing the Xbox Drive this month, filling in for Ryan.
Ah, okay.
So this is kind of a cool way for me to get it all in and out of my system, and then get out of town before Rebecca can.
She can't yell at you then. For whatever you say here, she cannot.
That's right.
Get to yell at you by the time you're back. Hands up.
Before we talk about the news, though, just to get a little nostalgic and kind of set up this 3DS part, if this new Switch comes out and they're targeting next year, you and I will have known each other for 3 Nintendo console cycles.
Yeah.
Does that like settle it in? It didn't. It like
Jesus.
I'm often reminded and like in awe of like how long ago we started this. Like I guess it doesn't feel that long ago, but it also does feel like a long time ago. It's just things were different back then.
Oh yeah. I mean the original.
It wasn't even that long ago. Like and when you say back then, and you make it sound it's like 30 years ago. It's not that long ago, but things were different. A lot has changed in video games and podcasting and content. Like a lot has changed.
Yeah. I mean, the Switch announcement, when it was officially announced and they officially showed it and pre-orders went up and all that stuff, I was in Disney. I remember that. And my kid was, I think, less than 2.
Jack, we were trying to do it the other day. Jack I think he said he was 4. Like he's all full-blown 8th grader and stuff now. I'm like, 4? You weren't 4? He's like, yeah, I was. I was like, what?
No, Switch hasn't been out that long.
I'm telling you.
The Wii U, yes, you should have been. How old is he now?
I don't know. I feel like I've been saying he's 12 for 4 years. I don't know. 13, 12, 13, something like that.
For 10 years. So
no, I know. I know. I know.
But he was definitely young. But yeah.
So we've been doing this. We started PSVG in 2015. And I just wanted to ask you, you can stay on the Nintendo front, but if you want to go more global and just gaming overall, I just want to, how do you think you've changed since then?
Oh, geez. I play more games for sure, which is typically once you start hitting my age, we've seen a lot of our friends start playing less games, right? Like,
so get rid of it, move on.
Yeah, I haven't. Whether it's for the sake of remaining relevant or now I do a lot more reviews. I'm always kind of jumping from thing to thing. So if you asked me this long ago, would I have all 3 current gen consoles and all that stuff? I probably wouldn't have thought so. But yeah, with Nintendo too, the love affair is still there. Thankfully, it did kind of waver a little bit in the end of the Wii U era, where we kind of had that real dry spell.
Yeah.
But the Switch has been great, and I mean, like Pikmin 4 brought me back in. The Disney's Illusion Island brought me back. Like I've played the Nintendo Switch more in this past month than I think I have in the last 6 to 8 months. So it's definitely been there. But yeah, I think it's. I've played more stuff. My horizons have been broadened with the types of games I play now. Stuff like roguelikes I never had any interest in at all, and now I like most of them. I know that's not your cup of tea, but like that stuff, I was in the same camp as you. I was like, I'm not playing these things, I don't like these things. And I ended up reviewing some, and I was like, wait a minute, I think I do like these things, like good versions of these things, stuff like that. Play more sports games than I've played in a long time, Coach Mo, if you're listening. But yeah, it's just kind of broadened my gaming horizons where I'm just playing a lot more and a bigger variety of what I used to. Previously, it was like, FPSs and the Nintendo first party stuff for and horror games were like my cup of tea, and that was pretty much it. It would occasionally get me to play something else, but now I'm definitely paying a lot more attention. I'm on the Game Pass train now, so I'm always looking at what drops on Game Pass and at least giving stuff a shot, stuff
Sure.
like that. So yeah, it's broadened my horizons doing this thing for the last 8 years, right? Yeah, 8.
Yeah, better part of a decade.
Yeah. We're old.
Okay. So, so the news. Let's do the news.
Yeah.
So VGC came out with a report that was since corroborated by Eurogamer, that was since corroborated by IGN. They've all spoke to different studios who claim, anonymity. And there are several YouTubers and influencers that have then added on to this. And here's where we currently have. Nintendo's next console, they call it next gen. Is that do we ever use? I mean, I guess it is, but yeah. Nintendo's next gen console is likely to release in the second half of 2024. Development kits for the next console are now with key partner studios, which is funny because we had that report about 2 months ago of a development kit coming to an airport.
Yep.
So the timing lines up with that at least. They've indicated that the console will still be able to be used in a portable mode. So it'll still be similar to the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, I think so. No brainer there.
Two sources at VGC have suggested that the console will launch with an LCD screen instead of the OLED to offset costs as they look to expand storage.
I don't doubt it. Number one, because it's Nintendo. Let's be real. I don't like it because they could say to reduce costs, it's gonna cost more than the Nintendo Switch does now. I'm already bracing for that. So
this thing is at least $400.
Right. So it's at $400, I would expect an OLED screen in that thing, right?
I love that they're to offset costs. Here's the thing about the OLED. They're not that expensive.
Right.
Phones use OLED screens all the time. Yes. We're talking the difference of and I know on scale it does matter. It is a cost, but the overall cost of manufacturing I don't want to say minimum. Minimal is not the right word. It wouldn't cost that much to jump up to an OLED screen at one of the, I believe Nate the Hate said it's an 8-inch screen. So it's a little bigger screen.
Okay.
VGC said that he's on the money with that. It wouldn't cost a whole lot to upgrade an 8-inch LCD screen to an OLED. I think you're probably talking dollars difference per panel.
It's got to cost more to find LCD panels at this point.
Yeah. Now, if you're making 10 million of them, that's nothing to scoff at.
Sure. Yeah.
But if you've also been printing money hand over fist for the last 6 years, now obviously I don't know. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I don't know how much you may or may not listen to Shaq anymore. But I did this. I don't know, 8-10 weeks ago. I was joking with Rebecca, and I was like, "Yeah, the next Switch is not going to launch with OLED." And she was like, "What?" I was like, "No, they're not going to do that." I mean,
they're going to release another version that does have it later on.
Of course, yeah. The idea that people are it's to save the money. No, it's not.
No. It's to release another version shortly.
This is not what they do. Yeah, they're going to release the bare bones base option model because they know they've got millions of fans that'll buy that. And then they will subtly upgrade it and keep selling those people those same consoles.
Why not just do both? Do a Series S, Series X thing.
I think
the cheaper option for the casual Nintendo people that just want to play Animal Crossing, that's it. Because we know there's a ton of those now since COVID and the Nintendo boom. And the people who want the best experience possible, just release it time.
I do have one note, and it may play here.
Yeah,
there is a huge difference between, I don't necessarily hate that they're going back to LCD, but I will hate if they go back to the Switch's LCD. Right? Not all screens are the same.
That's
the
true.
Switch's LCD sucks. The base Switch LCD screen is garbage. So is the Steam Deck's. The Steam Deck screen sucks. Mm-hmm. The LCD in the Logitech G Cloud is awesome. If they use that screen, beautiful. We're good to go. I don't even need an OLED. It's a gorgeous screen as it is. Definitely. I just want the screen to be quality. If they give us another washed out, whitewashed LCD screen, I'm going to be like, oh, I hate this. And it's funny because when we got the original Switch, I played almost exclusively docked because from the day one, I think I've hated that screen. I was like, colors are muted. This is awful. And then they released the OLED, and I go right back to my 3DS ways of playing almost 100% portably.
Same. Yep.
So I just want the screen to be good. I don't really care.
I guess I'm writing it off ahead of time. You're right. It could be a good LCD screen. It's just that news in typical Nintendo fashion.
Yeah.
You're like, oh god, like
we have
to Switch U. We're gonna eye roll the same.
Because here's the thing. Because you know what's going to happen if it's the cheapest screen, bad screen possible. Like, let's worst case scenario. What people are going to do is they're going to put the new Switch next to an old OLED Switch, and they're going to take a picture of how bad the new one looks.
100%. 100%. Eat that up.
Nate the Hate also said that, they are going to expand the memory, and that he's hearing it's going to come with at least 512 gigabytes.
I mean, here's the thing. If it has an SD card slot, I don't really care. Like, it's
expandable is a thing.
Right. It's not the PlayStation or Xbox where it's like, well, you need a certain kind of hard drive to expand, and even then you can only install certain things on there. Like, Nintendo is not going to do that. It's going to be just a standard storage thing. I don't care. I'll buy an SD card, like unless they're doing something proprietary, like the PSP sticks.
Oh boy, don't give them that idea.
Yeah. I mean, if they do something like that, then I'll be pissed. But outside that, the storage, I don't really care, because if I can expand it with an SD card, it's irrelevant, for me. But
and the games, I'll hold that.
Okay.
The new Switch will accept a cartridge slot.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's pretty much a given. I think Nintendo really enjoys being back in a position where they control the medium. Yeah. And they're not having to print discs and go into Blu-ray licensing or anything like that. Like, they have their cartridges back, and they can set the standard for how all of their publishers, interact with their physical media. That was weird.
Yeah, I don't happen to.
Nate the Hate said that the developers that he's talked to, and I believe Eurogamer said this same thing, they're split on whether or not it's backwards compatible.
Yeah.
Like, they have one developer that's like, it's not. And they have another one that's like, but it is. And that's weird. Yeah. And I'm wondering if it is weird. Like, maybe it's backwards compatible, but only supported titles that you have digitally, but not all cartridge. Like, I'm wondering if it's weird, and that's why we're getting conflicting information.
Yeah, I'm wondering, so, like, is it the same cartridge slot as it is now?
That's
or is it a different cartridge?
A different cartridge.
Because if it's a different cartridge, I'm going to say, no, it's probably not.
I think it's a different cartridge.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like they kind of have to, right? Like,
yeah, they do
need to expand on that. If they're expanding the technology and making that better, then they're going to need better cartridges to make those games run better, right? Like Legend of Zelda, Hyrule Forest, all that kind of stuff.
You're going to enhance the technology of the cartridge to make it, for a few different reasons. One, to increase the storage limit. Yeah. Game sizes are bigger, you're going to want to offer a bigger cartridge. Mm-hmm. To increase the speed in the technology. It's no longer 2016 anymore. Yep. They developed this in 2014. Things have come a long way. You want to improve that technology. Third, you want to increase the security. Yeah. You don't want to have an exploitable, cartridge, loophole or something. The Switch has already been hacked. We see piracy all the time. Pokemon leaks early, Pikmin leaks early. That's the first entry point to security. If you're going to have any sort of external media, is locking that down. That'll be like their first thing. So I'm expecting the cartridge to be separate. Now, it's possible they could change the cartridge, but the slots still accept both. Yeah, like the 3DS. Did
we could see that for sure.
But I'm expecting it to be different.
Right. It's almost like, hey, Nintendo needs to report the ports that they ported over from the Switch from Wii U, and they're going to do it again. Like, we're going to buy Mario Kart 8 again. No, I'm just kidding. But maybe not.
That's why I'm wondering if it's backwards compatible, but not with your physical games, and only if developers make it available to you. Like, it might be a developer to developer, like, maybe Nintendo does it, but not Ubisoft. Right. It might be one of those situations.
And I can see that. Simply because too, like, those developers, if they need to enable something, I'm not sure a ton of them are going to do it, because I think a lot of them see they're not making the money on Switch unless it's an exclusive, like Rabbids and Mario Rabbids. Like,
they want to resell them.
Right. But stuff
like Rabbids is a good example, right? Ubisoft said that they're not very happy with The Mario Rabbids,
Sparks of Hope.
They're not happy with the cells. So instead of making it backwards compatible and like enhancing, the game that's there, they just re-release the game and all of a sudden it runs better. And it's
gold edition or something.
Of course. And it has a better resolution and everything. And they're like, hey, it's a better version. Now buy it.
Yeah.
Although it's the same thing and it just is on better hardware.
Yeah.
We know how this works.
Yeah.
So I've got some questions. That's like the news. That's what we're expecting.
Any word on the Joy-Cons? Did you see anything? None. Okay.
I would imagine that dev kits probably just have controllers.
Yes, but they have to be able to utilize features that would be there on the console. So if there's something such as motion controls possible.
Pro controller. Like a dev kit's probably just going to run off the Pro controller.
That's true. Okay.
And they'll just be like, we'll show you the hardware later. Like the dev kit is just a PC tower.
Yeah.
Like here's the Switch specs. And they probably have profiles for portable and docked. So that's why people know that it's both. But like, I don't think they're not holding the new Switch.
Yeah. Well, I know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I wrote down some questions based off the news we have. And the first question that I want to present to you is, how do you think they're going to do this transition? Do you think they're going to have a hard cutoff? Like this new system comes out and every game from that point forward is the new system game? Or do you think Nintendo might do a little cross-gen where like, I'll use, for example, like we know that Luigi game is coming. We know that Peach game is coming.
Yeah.
Do you think they release those games on both?
Yeah.
Like you've got the Switch version and the Switch 2 version.
If they're releasing it in late next year, then they're gonna carry them both over. They're gonna do some cross-gen stuff, and I think Nintendo will cut it off at some point. I would say probably anything that launches after mid-25. But third parties, I think, will adapt quicker. You'll only probably see like Just Dance still carry over from the previous gen. Like I don't think EA, Ubisoft, and those people have any interest in continuing to develop for the Switch if there's a new version out. I don't see them making multiple editions of anything. I think they learned their lesson last time. So you'll see kind of the mainstays carry over, but I don't think long term they're going to adapt. They're going to jump quick, whereas Nintendo will carry over for at least a year, I'd say.
There's a lot of talk, like with the last consoles, with Xbox and PlayStation, and them supporting, both and having cross-gen support. And that's not really something that Nintendo does, really, right?
No.
Like they really are kind of a believer in that hard cut.
Yeah.
We'll have like a Zelda title that'll launch with the new one and the other one, but I don't think they have like a long history of like 5, 7, 8 games being published on multiple consoles. That's not really their thing.
No.
But
you get just those two, maybe something else that's going to be honest. If there's a traditional, well, no, because we're getting 2 Marios this year.
But it's interesting because they've got 120 million Switches that can play a Peach game. Like I imagine on the Nintendo side, they're not too worried about a new system for the Peach game. No. So like the opportunity is there for them to like keep pushing software. Mm-hmm. And I would use that as a point to think, what do you think about this? The new Nintendo leadership, in my opinion, seems way more like corporate and risk averse.
Yep.
And I kind of see them being like, no, will the game run on the old one? We're going to put it out there too.
Yeah. I mean,
like we're going to keep making money.
Like what would be the big app to come out with this Switch? They couldn't get another Zelda out in time.
No.
Unless they port the same one. They could put another version.
They could have an enhanced version of Tears of the Kingdom, but
right. Mario, we're getting a ton of Mario games this one. So like, is it Metroid Prime 4? I mean, I can't think of.
I think Metroid Prime 4 is not coming to the current Switch. I would imagine it's going to the next one. Yeah, I don't know if it's now. The question is, I'm not sure if you were asking, but were you thinking like launch?
Yeah, like what launches?
What game do they launch it with? I think Metroid 4 could be there.
Yeah,
I think 3D Mario could be there.
Sure. Yep.
We're due for a kart.
Yeah. Although with the kart, I think they run into the same problem that Sakurai has said with Smash Brothers. Like, what do you do next? You've put everything on this game.
You'd have to, with kart, I think it's different than Smash.
A little bit, yes.
Because Smash, you can't change a whole lot without changing Smash. Where kart, I think you have to introduce a new gimmick.
Yeah. And
it's got to be a double dash type of thing that changes the way you play Mario Kart. So it's new.
Add some planes and do Diddy Kong racing style.
Yeah, something like that. It's got to be something like that, I imagine.
Yeah, I could see that being there.
Yeah. I think if I had to guess, I would place my bet on a 3D Mario game.
It's definitely more plausible than another Zelda. So,
and Metroid, I think, can be there, but Metroid isn't the launch title.
It's not a console seller. We know
you
that.
can't move units with Metroid.
Units. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe Donkey Kong? Could be Donkey Kong.
I think it's a fan favorite, but will that sell consoles either? I'm not sure.
If it's good, I think it could be. Like if it's I know, not like Mario. It will never be Mario.
Sure,
but if there is like a really good looking 3D adventure Donkey Kong game, I think people would be excited.
Mario Conga 2024. Let's go.
Let's lock it in. You get your plastic things. Let's do it.
Let's go.
There is some speculation about this, but I'll ask you, when do you think Nintendo lifts the veil?
Oh, so I've seen a lot of talks about this saying it's going to be soon. I feel like there's
at Gamescom. That's what's going around. There, people are like, and we're going to hear about it next week.
I can't see them talking about it a year before it launches. Like, let's be real. Like the earliest
they almost did that with the Switch, though. It was almost a year out.
Was it really?
It was, yeah. Well, see, we have a new console, and then we got here's the Switch, and then it was like 7 months before we got the Switch presentation, and then a couple months before we got the commercial. Like we knew what the Switch was, like almost a year ahead of time. I think it was 10 months. I think
if that's the case. I could see him announcing it. I don't think Gamescom. That would have leaked already. Somebody already would have said, "Hey, this is going to be here. They're going to show something," and they'd have to show at least one title saying like, "Hey, this is coming."
Yeah,
to build that hype up too. Because like right now, like their hype is around Luigi's Mansion and Peach, which is like
Peach.
Come on. The Peach game, like I'm gonna play it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I am gonna play it too. I was actually kind of stoked for it. I was
but remember
they're making a Peach game. I never played the Peach game from before.
It was okay, but it was just bad messaging around it. Like, hey, it's a woman female lead, and her powers are her emotions.
Like, oh no.
Her battle
I think the time is right for if the Peach game is good, could hit. The timing is right for this.
Movie, like if she's that character she was in the movie, totally like that. I can see that happening. Where she's
about to watch the movie myself.
So Peach is more of a hero aspect. They take that role, great. Then the game's going to do fine as long as they don't try and replicate that Nintendo DS game. That was just bad.
We could have a Fire Emblem that could launch with the system.
That's a good call too.
Not to go back to the last question, but it just hit me. I was like, yeah, we're due for a good Fire Emblem.
Yeah. So maybe they announce it, but I don't think we get like a real hype,
like a trailer.
Until
here's what it is
later. Yeah.
Game Awards.
Yeah. Oh. See,
would Nintendo do it at somebody else's show?
Well, there's nobody else's show anymore. It's just that's it now. Like, I could see them unveiling what it is at Game Awards. That would be the announcement, but that wouldn't be the trailer of the presentation or the kind of,
Yeah, no, I think a presentation like a direct will come later.
Yeah. I could see them unveiling it at Games Awards. Yeah, I think that's definitely a hell of a lot more likely than Gamescom or anytime before then. Yeah.
This one I'm glad you're here for. Areas for improvement. What do you want to see? What do you want from the next hardware?
Okay. A fix for the Joy-Cons, number one.
Yeah, that's got to be a given.
That's got to be a given there. Better battery life.
When you say a fix, what do you mean though? Let's dig into that a bit. I know what you mean. You mean no drift issues, but is that it?
Well, no. I mean, I'd like them to be a little bit bigger size-wise. I feel like they're way too small for the average person. I have big hands. I understand that, but I'm also not a giant. I'm not Coach Mo, so it's like I expect them to be a little bit bigger, a little more durable. The build quality of the Joy-Cons don't feel quality to me. Like, I mean, like if you hold the Joy-Con in your hand, you just squeeze a little bit, you can hear the components all creaking inside. That doesn't happen with my Xbox controller. It doesn't happen with my PlayStation controller. Okay. So I see better build quality there. Better battery life, of course, which we're gonna get. Like, let's be real. Every iteration is gonna have better battery life, so that's a given there. And just like you said, if they're gonna go back to that LCD screen, I want a quality one. It has to look better than the previous. Not the previous iteration. Has to look better than the OLED now. It has to. Otherwise, like you said, every video on YouTube is going to be that clickbait, that screenshot, the title card for everything of here's the 3D, here's the OLED, and here's the new one. Like
Nintendo released a worse Switch.
Yes, they have to kind of avoid that. They're on a streak right now. Like, let's be real, we haven't been able to say that in a long time. Like, well, I mean, we have now in this generation, but prior to this, Nintendo has never been like, oh, everyone's waiting on bated breath to see what they do. This time they are. They really need to try and not drop the ball on this. Don't name it Switch U. Don't name it Switch with
What
friends.
do you think they'll name it?
Something.
I didn't even have that. I didn't even have that down. I imagine most people are asking, but what do you think they'll name it?
Switch 2 or something like Super.
I think they're going to call it Switch 2.
Like that. I think they need to keep.
It's so boring and not Nintendo, and I think that's why people are coming up with different names. But again,
they have.
And I mean, we could all be wrong, but the leadership post Iwata is not Nintendo.
No, it's definitely different.
Like, they're not as quirky as they used to be.
But look at it this way too. So the Wii, everyone knew the Wii, right? Like, that was the mainstream. So what they try and do, the next iteration, they tried to keep Wii in the name. Yes, Wii U, people that dropped the ball.
DS, 3DS.
Yeah, they try and keep those name iterations similar. So they need to keep Switch in the name, but make it distinguishable that it's not the same. So a Super Switch, a Switch
Super
2,
Switch.
You're distinguishing that it's not the same as the previous one. But
Switch
hey,
Plus Home.
Switch Plus could work.
Switch XL.
No, because then it sounds like it's the same. Because the 3DS XL and the 3DS
I think Switch 2. I think
Switch 2 makes the most.
I think they're gonna I feel like, since, especially because you had a lot of past, then we had like the interim, and then once we had Furukawa take over for the interim, it seems like Nintendo's like, we're just gonna keep pushing games.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, we're just gonna keep pushing games and keep pushing profits, and we're not doing Labo, and we're not doing crazy stuff, and we're not doing wild stuff anymore. And like, it just feels like very like, let's not disrupt the apple cart.
Yeah.
And I keep taking that approach to Switch 2. And I'm wondering if possibly when it's unveiled, people are let down that there's not a little more pizzazz.
I could definitely see that they'll be looking for like a big gimmick or something. And
like, that's it? It's honestly, just the Switch, but better?
I want them to focus the gimmicks and pushing the boundaries on the games.
Software.
I'd rather have them take chances and do something different with the software they've never done before versus the consoles now. I think they found the formula that works. They've carved out their niche, right? Like, nobody else is touching them right now with that handheld hybrid, like, and no one's going to. You know, PlayStation, Xbox, they'll release these different things that play Game Pass, play PlayStation Portal, but they're not going all in like Nintendo is, and nobody's going to. So they need to just stay in their lane and be experimental, be creative with their software versus the actual hardware, or try and do something that they're not anymore. Nintendo knows who they are, I think, at this point. Push the creativity in the
like
game.
This is their thing, and I don't think they're going to deviate a whole lot unless they have to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, the market's going to have to push them. I've got a couple wants that I would like to see from it. On the Joy-Con side, I would like to see a more ergonomic Joy-Con in the vein of a Split Pad Pro.
Absolutely.
And maybe it's an extra, but I would like to see first-party support for it. I want the D-pad to return as the standard.
Yep.
I would like to see software improvements. I would like to see themes and folders and a UI.
I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
I think they could have like a cool win and be a little quirky, but like kind of nostalgic if they were like, Switch 2, we're bringing back like Spot Pass and things like that, Street Pass, like it's still portable. Like, I could see them doing something like that. Maybe it integrates with a mobile app or something. I imagine that we will see a new Nintendo mobile app that like accompanies this console. Maybe not like day one, but at some point.
Yeah.
On the hardware side, I want the LCD screen to be good. I want the storage to be modern. There's a lot of talk about how much storage it is, but like, my big thing is like, but is it an SSD or is it flash?
Yeah.
If it's the biggest issue right now with the Switch isn't the GPU and the chip. It's not the chip that people think it is. If you watch modders that mod the Switch has honestly a shocking amount of overhead.
Yeah.
You can really crank the Switch up to do a lot that it just can't, because they throttle it for battery. The chip is actually very strong still, even. Because, now I want to caveat that, because developers are specifically making games for that platform. So it's optimized. It's highly optimized. So it punches above its weight. But the thing that holds it back is the memory bus. That's why we have pop-in and textures and loading times and streaming problems. It's that. That's why all video footage is ran at half speed. So a memory bus improvement, and it doesn't have to be SSD. Like storage has come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
There's like SATA, and they're better, small mobile device storages. But a 512 SSD is not too expensive.
No.
And it would be the reason that Nintendo, I'm trying to think of the best way of saying this without going on too long. I haven't thought about this ahead of time, so you see I'm formulating my thoughts as we do it.
Yeah.
The benefit, the advantage that Nintendo has over something like an Ally or a Steam Deck is that companies are building software specifically for its unit. They're optimizing software. So they're not trying to run a PC game at lower settings for the hardware. They are trying to run a game built specifically for that platform.
Yep.
Right? So with a better memory bus at a lower resolution, like the Switch, we didn't even talk about resolution.
Yeah.
Do you think the screen will be 1080p?
I hope it's 1080p.
900p?
I think 1080p would be good.
I actually wouldn't mind it if it stayed at 720. I think that's a fine space for portable. 1080 would be nice. 1080 would be nice. Yeah. But 720 is okay. I play my Ally mostly at 720.
Yeah.
But the reason I say this is, so when a developer makes Skyrim for Switch, they cut the file size down. It's way lower than the file size on PC or somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So you can't look at it and be like, well, if the Switch had a better GPU, it could look better, because that's not the point. No. Bethesda made Skyrim, the Switch version, for the Switch.
Right.
So with a better memory bus, like if you could slap an SSD into a Switch, you could probably run a ton of games at 60 frames a second or much higher if the memory bus didn't slow you down. Yeah. If there was an SSD in the Switch, you could blow Tears of the Kingdom up big time, because it's not a PC version of the game. It's not a console version of the game that you're running at lower settings. It literally is a Switch version of the game.
Yeah.
So I think it can run that at lower textures, at lower resolutions. It can run those things very well with limited hardware improvements.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to see that. I don't think they'll ever talk about that. It's not really their thing. Yeah. But I would love for them to make an effort, not in the trailer, but maybe in a presentation, to talk about how much better the Switch 2's in performance will be because of the storage. Yeah. Like they don't have a Mark Cerny per se, but like I would love a little bit to be like, like Anuma comes in and he's like, Zelda's never played better. Like every Zelda game we have is going to be 60 frames a second on this bad boy.
Yeah.
Something like that would be cool.
The numbers, it's going to be lost on people. You got to explain why it's better.
Yeah. Or maybe they have
why it's not a hindrance.
Maybe they partner with Digital Foundry for like an early preview. Sure, and they're like, Digital Foundry's like, let me tell you about how much better this one is than that one. Mm-hmm. Because even without going 4K, like if they just boost up the frame rates, I'd be so happy. If they just take the frame rates from 24 and 26 and 30 and they make them 60, 70, 80. What if the LCD screen has like 120 refresh rate? I don't think it will, but if it does, I mean, it'd be awesome.
We could play Link's Awakening again, finally, and have it be playable.
Yeah. I think there's improvements to be made beyond like what typical console gamers are going to think of when they think of resolution.
They're looking at horsepower and resolution.
Yeah, there's a lot of overhead here to make the experience much better without like the 4K number.
Yep.
So I would like to see stuff like that. Let's see here. Oh, my last one's easy. Well, hang on. Do you think there'd be any gimmick or any are you expecting anything weird like that?
No, I think whatever it's gonna be the same as the Switch. I don't see them adding anything different. It's gonna be like, hey, it's still got motion controls. It's still gonna be docked. Still gonna be played portable. I think that's it.
Do you think they might have a digital only SKU?
Not at launch.
I agree.
Yeah.
Cost?
$400 at least, if not
$399. Yeah. So I had one simple question, but I think it could actually go some places. How excited are you for a new Switch?
In theory, just on the premise, like, hey, it's a new Switch, not really at all.
Right.
once they talk about what it could be, if it's really those enhancements we've been talking about for the last 20 minutes, then I'll be excited. If you can sit there and say, hey, it's going to play better than anything else we've had before, great. Then I'll start getting excited. But right now, to me, I know it's not, we talk about this all the time. It's like, is it too soon for a new one? In my mind, it still is. Especially because I just got an OLED last year. So I'm like, I just upgraded my Switch. Am I going to do it again next year? I don't know. But yeah, as of right now, it's like, no, not really. But once they kind of pull back that curtain, I'm sure there'll be some level of hype for sure.
It's interesting. Yeah. This is why I asked you earlier, maybe like how much you've changed, because my gaming habits have changed a lot.
Yeah.
I've moved from consoles to PC, and like, I'm still playing Nintendo, but more so than ever before in my entire life, I'm playing Nintendo only for Nintendo.
Yep.
So it's like, I'm still excited and hyped, and I'm going to get a new Switch. But it's like the qualifications for me to be there day one have completely changed from like the Switch. Like, and when the Switch happened, I was all in. Like, it could have been anything. They could have had one game, and I was there. They only had like 4 games, and I was there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily be there if they're like, we have a brand new 3D Mario game, and that's it.
Yeah,
I would probably be like, I'm going to wait a minute. Like, I don't need to be there right away.
Wait for some other game. Yeah, I'm with you. It's like my Switch has largely just been like the exclusives.
Yeah, it's just a Nintendo machine for me at this point. Yeah. That's all I play on it. I don't do indies on Switch anymore. Nope. I barely do third parties. Like, it's got to be exclusive or cheap.
Yep. I'm with you. And that's the same thing. And I don't see that changing with a new version of the Switch. Because
same. A new Switch doesn't change that at all.
Right. Even if it is better, it's still not going to be as good as PC, as PS5, as Xbox. So I'm still going to play all that stuff elsewhere. I've moved on from that, and I'm okay with that. My Switch is a Nintendo machine. I'm fine with that. And I don't see that changing regardless of what they do. I don't think really anything that they could do for a Switch 2 is going to make me change that philosophy. It's just going to be like, hey, what are the really good exclusives that are third party that are worth playing? Like Disney's Illusion Island is an example one. Like, hey, that's a really good, exclusive for right now. Outside of that, it's just going to be the Nintendo games. I'm not really going to be looking for anything else. I'm not going to play Madden on my Switch. Yeah, it's portable. That's cool. No interest. I'm, still rather have a better experience playing at home than if that's the case.
Sure. No, I agree with you there. So for me, I'm kind of hoping that whenever this veil gets lifted, I'm kind of hoping there's 2, 3, 4 things there. Yeah. That would go along. That would do more for me than the SSD or the screen or the any thing like that. It is kind of all about software, which I feel like I've come back to like the average.
Yeah.
Yep. I think that's how the most like the average Nintendo fan sees Nintendo. Mm-hmm. They're like, where's Animal Crossing? Like, it's cool. It does lots of whiz bangs and stuff. Where's Zelda?
Yep.
Show me Wind Waker and I'll buy it.
Yes. No more. Some more 1, 2 Switch 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh man, could you imagine? Arms 2.
It'll be
that's the launch title.
Oh, Arms 2. Oh god. They tried so hard to make that a thing.
Yeah. So I want to transition here a little bit.
Sure.
We're going to talk about 3DS.
Yep.
But the reason I want to do this is I want to kind of remind people like just how these things sort of go. Mm-hmm. Because every console you can probably find like some similar parallels. So specifically with the Switch 2, it got me thinking of 3DS because the Switch 2 will probably be, as we understand it, a direct sequel to a previous console that was very successful.
Yep.
And Nintendo hasn't had a whole lot of opportunities at that. I was thinking, would you count the Super Nintendo?
No.
Right.
That was just such a
similar name, but completely different.
No, it's been Wii U or similar.
Had 4 buttons, had trigger, like completely different. Yeah. Right. We had the Wii to the Wii U. We had DS to 3DS. 3DS. Really.
And this is the next one.
And the Wii U was a colossal F up. You can't do that. So it had me thinking of 3DS. This is why I started thinking about 3DS. The Switch is, again, it's this. The Nintendo is in a, like you were saying earlier, like in a new era. For Nintendo that they haven't been in a long time.
Yeah.
They have been riding this train for a while. So I wanted to ask you this. How do you keep people engaged with a new console? Like, do you feel like they come out with a Switch 2, it's better, but like, does that still excite people?
If the software is there, but just the core better Switch, I don't think it's going to get people going nuts, especially with the wider scale of folks that now own a Switch that maybe had been out of gaming for a while. Thanks to COVID for that, they brought a lot more attention back to Nintendo. I think for those people, I don't think they're really going to care much unless there's that killer app.
See, that's
to make them want to go over.
And the reason I ask is like, I think we're not going to do this episode about what went wrong with the Wii U. We've done that before.
Yes. Yep.
But I think some of the Wii U can be attributed to the Wii success. The Wii was so successful. Everybody had it. They came out with another one and they're like, here's a better Wii. And people were like, yeah, I'm not interested in better. Like we've done that. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if there might be something like that with the Switch. I don't think there will be, not to the Wii U's extent. I'm using that as an example, but I think it's a bad example. But I'm wondering if like a new Switch comes out, it plays better. It even has an awesome 3D Mario game or a new kart. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if there might just be some trepidation. Like it's tough to keep people engaged into a product. You're talking about trying to sell a similar product, a handheld dock combo for 8+ years and counting, and you keep going. Like we don't see a whole lot of that in video games,
I mean, like I said, it's all about the software. Look at PS4 to PS5, Xbox One to Xbox Series. Like, essentially the same device, right? Just plays things better than it did before. Not a whole lot of new gimmicks to be had there. And I think it's the same that what kept people engaged, what made them jump was, here's why this game is so much better on this platform than it was on the last one. That's what Nintendo needs to do. And they need to keep going with the train of constant software that they've had. So even like the third-party games are hit or miss on Nintendo. We know that. Some are great, some are not so great, whatever. But Nintendo, I think for the longest time and for the first time in a long time, has consistently been able to keep up with publishing titles and getting them out. There's always a constant stream of those Nintendo exclusives that are coming out that keep us wanting to buy a game, game to 4 or 5 a year. If they can continue that thing and say, hey, here's the new Animal Crossing, not available on Switch, got to jump on the Switch too, people are going to go. Here's the new Mario. Here's what it looks like on this Switch. Here's what Mario looks like now on this one.
That's how much better it is.
People will jump. That's what they need to do, and I think that's what's going.
And it's weird.
Have to go over.
That's weird. That's a weird place for Nintendo to be in because they're not like that. Makes sense for Uncharted or Halo or Gears. You can show the difference. Yeah. Nintendo, I don't think they'll like. I think there'll be noticeable difference between like Tears of the Kingdom on the new Switch versus the old Switch, but like to the average consumer that doesn't know what Digital Foundry is, it's just Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, it's not going to look drastically different but like they do console iterations, like other console games typically can.
If you look at something though, like Kirby, right, and then you look at the last Kirby game, I'm totally forgetting the name on it, even though I freaking loved it. Oh my god, what was the last Kirby game?
I'm thinking the Wii port, the Return to Dreamland.
Not Deluxe. That one. Sorry, the one before that. Forgotten Land. Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Yeah. Thanks.
So that took a somewhat realistic landscape that Kirby never had, right? Typically Kirby has everything like bright sides. If they can do something like that with Mario to show like, hey, here's how Mario Odyssey looked, and now here's what Mario looks like.
And it looks bigger, more expansive, not visually different, but exactly. Now we're talking.
It could even be visually different too if they got it looking a little bit closer to like the movie. Not saying it's going to be that, but if they go that style and make it more realistic,
more elaborate,
you can sit there and say like, "Hey, this is what it looked like now. This is what it looked like then." Zelda's a little bit harder because they've taken that somewhat realistic approach, but again, they can lean into.
I think with Zelda, it's all about performance. I think the game is beautiful as it is, but performance, it runs better. It's 60. It's awesome. You're going to want to play it here. And I think that's
And like Wind Waker, you're going to want that. However, is that really going to look different?
No.
The animation style doesn't lend to it. So that's going to be a performance-based one. So they can't lead with that foot. It needs to be something else to show why it's different, why it's better. Because certain Nintendo titles, it doesn't matter. It's not
Prime 4 though.
Could be. Prime 4 can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, Prime 4 can be a visual showcase. Yeah. Even for people that aren't interested.
Exactly. Show the Metroid Prime remake.
Yeah, the visor. It's got reflections and it's all bright and starry. Yeah, I could see that. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's go back in time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a little story here. Announced in March 2010 via a memo sent to press, titled To whom it may concern, Nintendo plans to launch a new portable game machine. They sent out a memo. That's what it said. And I'm not sure if you remember this, but it was in funky fonts. Like the first sentence was in one font. The second sentence was in a different font. We're like,
Reggie
what?
was drunk.
This is weird. Who did this?
Reggie had a long night. His body was not ready.
Tell me if this sounds familiar, if you can draw any parallels from this. June 2010, 10 days before E3, video gaming website IGN reports that according to several anonymous developers who have experienced the 3DS in its current form, the system processing power far exceeds that of the Nintendo Wii, with 3D shaders that could make games look as close to current gen visuals on 360 and PlayStation 3 available in a portable console. That was the lead into the 3DS announcement.
I mean, yeah, it could have been. It wasn't, but you know.
I love going back in time and seeing not just like how wrong or different, because they didn't think they were wrong. They thought they were right. But when you see it in hindsight, like, what in the hell? The 3DS was like, what, 420p or whatever? What are they talking about?
Plus, you can take a poll of how many people, once they got their hands on it, actually played in 3D past like a month.
True. I mean, you think about even in comparison, it launched opposite the Vita. And if you wanted to be like, the Vita is so powerful that it makes games, consoles look available at home, like, okay, it does. But the 3DS, they're like, here's Animal Crossing. Like, what?
It looks better than it did on GameCube. Okay.
I rewatched this E3, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the whole thing. The whole Nintendo show. I rewatched the whole thing. And then, let me tell you something, dude. I'm about to read you the games they talked about at this E3 show.
Okay.
You're going to be like, what year is this? This was the year at their E3 when they launched the 3DS, when they unveiled it to the world, that they showed Skyward Sword, Mario Kart Wii, Metroid Other M, Donkey Kong Returns, 007, and GoldenEye. I mean, 007 and Golden Sun.
Golden Sun, yeah. What?
Here we are. You fast forward 10 plus years, and like, it wasn't that long. Like, here's another Zelda game. Here's the Mario Kart game. We just got Metroid Prime HD. We just got 007 again.
Was it the Golden Sun sequel?
It was Golden Sun DS, whatever that was.
Okay, all right. Because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, the original was on Game Boy Advance. Like, what is going on? Okay, all right.
There was a pedestal that came out from the show floor. Surrounded by smoke.
Yep.
And a sizzle reel that said 3D madness. 3D is taking over. It was like a reefer madness kind of thing. There are all these newspaper clips about 3D. It had people with their 3D glasses on. It was the next wave. The first game shown was Project Sora, aka Kid Icarus.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember at the time I was working at Best Buy, and they were really pushing 3D TVs.
Mm-hmm. You know, I remember.
Donnie,
it was
LG,
all the rage.
Samsung, all of them. It was just so expensive. Then you had to buy the glasses separately, and the glasses were like $200 a pair. It was just nuts. But yeah, the 3D hype was real. And the fact that Nintendo was like, hey, everybody else has all these glasses and you don't need them for ours. Everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
How is this possible? And
how is this possible?
Yeah. I mean, and to be fair, it was a really cool gimmick. Like, it was cool.
It did work.
Without glasses. Like, it was really cool. Just didn't have the staying power, as neither did 3D TVs, let's be real.
Could you imagine if you bought like a $3,500 3D TV? Like 3 years later, what you were feeling like?
I sold a ton of them, so those people are out there, and I'm sorry, but... You know.
This is the fun stuff that I really get into. Shown with the 3DS was Kingdom Hearts 3D, Metal Gear Solid 3D, Assassin's Creed Lost Legacy was coming to 3DS. That never happened.
Okay, I don't remember that. Okay.
Yeah, there was a whole Assassin's Creed game. They're like, this is our game. And then that became Revelations.
Like,
and it was completely deleted. They canceled it and revived it like many years later. Resident Evil Revelations, Street Fighter 4, Mario Kart 7, Animal Crossing, Star Fox 64 3D and Ocarina of Time 3D.
Time 3D. Yep.
They also showed 3D trailers for How to Train Your Dragon, Legend of the Guardians, and Tangled.
Yes.
You could watch. They thought people were going to watch 3D movies on 3DS.
Yeah, no. I watched 3D trailers on it, but that's it.
They had developers chime in. Karthik Bala from Vicarious Visions, Keiji Inafune was there. Hideo Kojima was there talking about how powerful the platform was.
Paycheck.
Yeah, of course. Like, and we're going to see that, like, we saw the same thing with the Switch. We had that presentation, right, where they did the same. They trotted out Suda, right? I was so excited. We're going to see the same thing. And I'm not telling people not to get excited. I'm preparing us for what is to come. This is going to happen. It's like Phil Spencer's going to be there holding a new Switch, talking about how awesome it is. You know,
this is great. Someday we got. It's like Stephen King all of a sudden is like giving opinions on every movie that comes out. Like, they're just paying him because, like, he has no interest. Like, I don't care what Stephen King's opinion was of the Barbie movie. That's not the dude I go to for that opinion.
Their successor to the DS, still their most sold platform of all time, launched with Steel Diver, Street Fighter 4, Pilot Wings, and Nintendogs.
Oh my God. I don't even remember Nintendogs being. Oh yeah.
So we're like, man, Prime 4. We need Mario Kart. We need 3D Mario, like a beautiful Kirby game that we've never seen before. And I don't think they will, but they might show up with Pilot Wings.
Crap, we're gonna end up with like Tomodachi Life, Shovel Knight again, and something. Oh God.
It launched in March 2011 for $250 and would be cut to $170 in less than 6 months after launch. So,
wow.
For anybody that's come to Nintendo Shack in recent years and you've just got the Switch and like that's been your entry into Nintendo Land, this wasn't that long ago. We're talking less than it's a little over a decade ago that they had to cut the price by $50? No, more than that. Almost $100.
Yeah.
In less than 6 months from launching the console.
Yeah, that's true. It didn't give people a reason to jump.
PlayStation, Xbox are raising the prices.
Yeah, right. Oh crap, you're right. Yeah, Jesus. And the Vita was almost double the price of that. Vitas were what? 300?
I don't remember. I didn't get a Vita until several years, I think, after it was on the market.
Vita was more, even though
I think I got a Vita. I got the white one that came with Assassin's Creed, I think.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it was $249.99. But that was years down the road. I think I might have been talking to you in forums when I got my Vita.
Oh, okay. No, here's the problem. I do remember this now. Guess what the launch price of the Vita was? The same as the 3DS.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
$49.99. So I think
and
that's
Sony was probably taking a bath on that bad boy.
Oh, they definitely were.
They were like, damn it, Nintendo.
And Nintendo wasn't moving those 3DS units. I remember they didn't sell well at all at launch. And then as the games got better, people started picking up as people's DSs died out. Just because the form factor alone was better than the DS was. But yeah, it was a rough start. I do remember that. I had the teal one, but I don't think I bought it until it was 180 as well. I didn't jump right away.
I'll say this led to the infamous 3DS Ambassadors program, where if you were a day one adopter, you got 20 free games. You got 10 NES games and 10 GBA games.
That's right.
And for years, you could only get those on the 3DS if you were an ambassador, if you bought in on day one.
Yep. I did not have that.
Fast forward a couple years. Hang on, not a couple. Yeah, a couple years. Let's see if this sounds familiar. Reported in June of 2012, the Nikkei, I never understand how to pronounce that Japanese.
I think it's Nikkei is what I think I was.
But they reported that there was an XL, an expanded additional unit coming, to which Nintendo said, and I quote, was false and entirely speculative.
Yep.
And that shouldn't be published. And then 11 days later, Nintendo unveiled the 3DS XL on June 21st. It featured 90% larger screens. It was $199, and it came in a blue and a red variant.
Yep.
and it launched alongside Nintendo, a new Super Mario Bros. 2.
Yep.
Kev, the first 3DS game available both digitally and physically at the same time.
Oh, that's right.
They didn't do that. They had offsetting.
Oh, that's right.
How much the world has changed in not that long of time.
Jesus, you're right. I skipped the XL entirely for the next iteration, the new 3DS.
So that's wild because this is when I got a 3DS.
Okay.
I wanted a 3DS because of Ocarina of Time.
Sure.
I was like, that looks great. I want to play it. I think the original 3DS is one of the hideous, like most hideous stuff. I've hated that. I was like, are you kidding me? This itty bitty little screen and the little things that had like the raised screen and it was all blocky and chunky. I was like, next to the Vita, it looked terrible.
Oh yeah.
Oh boy.
The paint was like reflective too. It wasn't just like, hey, it's shiny. It was chrome.
Yeah.
Those original 3DSs were chromed out teal. That's what I remember. That's when I don't remember what the colors were, but like it was like ugly.
I got a red one with Mario, and I got a stencil on Etsy of a Triforce that I had layered over my red one, and that was my 3DS until the Link Between Worlds 3DS came out. And the reason I bought the 3DS was I bought it with Mario. I did buy Ocarina, but I bought into the 3DS XL hype because I thought the console looked better.
Yeah.
But it was Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Awakening was shown, and I was all in. I thought it looked gorgeous. Mm-hmm. I kept hearing about people that were going hands-on, talking about how great it was, and I was in it, and that's when I got in. And this was my first portable. I never owned a portable until 3DS.
You didn't have a Game Boy Advance in advance?
No, I never had a Game Boy. Yeah, that's...
Okay.
Growing up, I played Pokemon on 64 via the 64 attachment in Pokemon Stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
And I had an aunt that had a Game Boy. So I had dabbled with some games, some Tetris. I remember Spider-Man. I played on her Game Boy. And then there were friends that would have a Game Boy or a Game Boy Color on the bus or something. And I would dabble with one of those every now and again. Yeah. But I never had one of my own. I think the reason I've always come in my head is I was so into GameCube and Wii and 64 that the portable companions to those at the time just felt like such a step back.
Inferior. Sure. Yeah.
You know, people are like, you're playing in black and white? Like, what are you doing, man?
It wasn't black and white. It was pea green and gray.
Yeah. And then like, you know, people are like, you got to get this GBA, man. Like, look at this. Like, look at Link's Awakening. I was like, you know, they're like Zelda games, right? Like, and it wasn't until the 3DS was like that time and place where, yeah, it wasn't console, it wasn't PS3, but Fire Emblem was gorgeous.
Yeah.
You know, like Mario looked great. New Super Mario Bros. Looked a lot like Mario on the Wii. They're very similar.
Yeah.
And that was the time and place where I was like, okay, I got my 3DS. And then, as you know, like this is, and then the reason I wanted to do this with you, not only because we have the Switch news, but like 2012, like this is where we cross paths, really.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's right here in this time because I graduated in 2015. We were talking for years before that.
Yep.
And this is where I get on the board, not on the Nintendo train, but on the portable train.
Yep.
And I think from that point forward is a different, like a divergent path for me.
Yeah.
Because I love my Wii U, but I think most people who listen to the show for a long time know just how much I loved my 3DS. I remember when we were talking about the NX, what did I keep saying? I was like, I want it to be a handheld, like just be a handheld.
Yeah.
Because I had learned that I'd been like conditioned that Zelda games, dual screening Zeldas, 3D Zeldas, you know, I played Animal Crossing really for the first time. I played Animal Crossing GameCube, but I didn't really play Animal Crossing until New Leaf. Yeah. So like I got on board with the 3DS XL and then it all goes out the, you know me, I bought the new 3DS. I had to get the thumbstick. I needed my Super Nintendo games.
Yep, me too.
How many 3DSs I have? The Hylian Shield one, the Link Between World ones, the Majora one, the Fire Emblem one. Like I had like 9 3DSs.
You were buying them like candy. Yeah, you were buying 3DSs when everyone else was buying games for the 3DS.
I would have kept buying them if they didn't give me a model with faceplate. I was like, oh, that's easier. We'll just do that.
So I don't need all of these?
Hey, speaking of that, what if Switch 2 has faceplates?
Great,
Fucking sold.
It's like the little easy thing, but then again, like we thought themes were going to be an easy thing for the Switch, and that just never happened. We had light.
I'll be sold on that too. Like if they are like in the Switch has themes, I'm like upgrade day one.
Do it. It's like it's little stupid things that don't cost them anything to do. Like just make them separate. Doesn't matter. They're a separate cost.
It'd be great.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So the new 3DS, I did write this down, and we'll just do this, and then we'll cap it off here.
Yeah.
The 3DS got tons of variations that we thought at the time. We were just convinced the Switch would have all of it.
Yeah.
And it really didn't. We got the Switch Lite. We've had a couple special editions, but it's nothing.
No.
Nothing compares
to
the 3DS. We got the 3DS, the 2DS, the Wedge, the 2DS XL, the 3DS XL, the new Nintendo 3DS XL, and the new Nintendo 3DS with all the faceplates.
Yep.
And that isn't even coming close to the amount of special editions that they had.
Oh yeah, and their special editions were like legit.
Some of the best they've ever done. The Majora's console, I hate the game. The Majora's Mask console is one of the best consoles I've ever seen.
Yes, and the Switch ones were just like, hey, you got these Joy-Cons. Most of them were ugly and didn't even go with the theme. Like you had like the docks were okay. I think the docks for the Switch were the better of the versus the actual consoles themselves. Like they never matched. They always were weird.
We were convinced when we saw Joy-Cons, we'd have so many Joy-Cons.
Oh, God, yeah.
And all they've ever done are like bland colors.
Yep. And then the fact that they're still $80 to go get them, you're like,
it's so sad. Samus Returns. What's your favorite 3DS version? Like a special edition?
I like
so many Pokemon ones.
Shield one, and I like the ones that made it look like the NES.
Oh yeah, those were good. I forgot
those ones were cool.
We had those and the Super Nintendo.
Yep. And the faceplates were good. There were so many of them, so like it's not. I don't really consider those to be like a special edition, but the Hylian Shield and the NES and SNES ones I thought were my favorite ones.
I loved the Majora's Mask.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Pikachu with the big Pikachu face.
Yeah.
I think the Samus Returns was a gorgeous little console.
Yeah.
There's so many Pokemon ones.
So many.
They launched this new 3DS with exclusives. You could only play Xenoblade Chronicles 3D on a new 3DS.
Yep.
You could also only play Super Nintendo games on the Virtual Console on it.
Which
they
never
made you upgrade.
Never made sense.
You have to upgrade. You got to buy a whole new system if you play Link's Awakening.
I mean, dude, it was so crazy because it was like the Game Boy Advance was essentially an SNES in your pocket, right? Graphically, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, why on earth would you need a new 3DS XL to play SNES game? That was pure them just being like, we need more money.
I bring that up because there are people like, well, surely it'll be backwards compatible.
Don't bet on it.
Are you sure?
Just remember, we had to upgrade our online version to get N64 games on the Switch. There was no hardware limitations there. It was just like, we need more money from you. That's all it is. That's all it is.
And this would be the first time really in the 3DS era where we would start to get like what I would call like real modern online functionality.
Yeah.
We get cross-gen support. You could cross-buy. You could buy like Shovel Knight on one platform and get it on your console. There was a bunch of indie games that would take advantage of that.
Yeah.
You could use the controller. You could use the 3DS as a controller for your Wii U. You had Amiibo functionality that would cross back and forth.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, like you could buy themes that would cross. Like that was cool that like we started to get those integrations, which set the stage for like Nintendo Online, which set the stage for like the Switch that we have today.
Yeah.
So
things like 2 consoles ahead of time, and then you see the fruits of their labor later on.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, like, what do you remember from 3DS? Like, what is your 3DS experience? And if you want to do like some favorite games, we can do some favorite games.
Yeah, we'll do games for sure. The console wise, like I said, I jumped in after they did the price cut. I do remember that because I was like, man, this is way too much money for what it is. And then sat on it till the new 3DS came out, and then I played that. And I think I stopped there. I don't think I got the faceplate ones myself. I think I bought it for my kids. But yeah, I mean, it was a great little console, but like I said, the 3DS I utilized hardcore for like the first month, maybe 2. I was like, this is so cool. And then I turned it off and never turned that slider on again. And I don't miss it at all. You know what though? It was still an incredible console without the 3D functionality. And a couple of the games, I don't even want to say a couple.
You're the reason they made the 2DS.
Yeah. I mean, one of
You're
these
the market.
games I only think maybe two. One or two of the games from my list of my like 10 favorite games, I utilized the 3D in it because it made a difference.
3D
Everything
Land.
else, it didn't matter at all. No, actually, that's not on the list.
Oh.
So
I would always play with the 3D slider just ticked on, like just up.
same.
Because if you just turned it on, it would like pop the screen would get a little bit more vibrant.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would always just do that and then not have the full 3D effect.
Yeah. I'll go with the first game because I bet this one might not even be on your list here, but this was one of the ones I played in 3D. Resident Evil Revelations.
Oh, I played it, but yeah, not on my list.
Yep. I love the game. It was like your first real aspect of a mature title on a Nintendo console, handheld console. And it was like, that was the only place you could play the game at first. Now, yes, it's been ported to everything, but like this was a Nintendo exclusive Resident Evil, which you hadn't seen since they did Zero back in the day in the GameCube. It was
possibly just throw it out there again.
Yeah.
If the Switch 2 has a Resident Evil game, when they talk about it, like, don't be surprised. Like, it's possible.
Yep. It was a great game. It ran well, it's got really surprising for that. It was a handheld game that was much more in depth than really anything else that they had going on there. Mario, Animal Crossing, this stuff doesn't take a lot of resources. This game was a powerhouse, and it looked good. It ran good. It was a good story. Yeah, it was one of my favorites, and it stuck because that was, like you said, that was there at the launch, and I still remember that fondly to this day. Like that is one that was on my top 10 list, like right off the bat, as I started thinking, and I had to like look up some games like, oh yeah, that one and that one. But this one, like right off the bat, I'm like, this was on my list right from the start. So kick it off.
Solid.
Yeah.
I'll throw out Samus Returns, the last Metroid game that I've beaten.
Oh, okay.
I played Metroid Prime. I loved Metroid Prime back in the day, and I loved the little port and the HD remaster you got in, and I played it for like 6 hours. I was like, I stopped playing it for a couple of days, and I came back, and I was like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to figure all this out.
That's every Metroid game. Don't put it down, because if you do, you're never going to remember what you were doing.
I couldn't finish Dread. It was too hard. I got basically to the end, but it was too much, and I just quit. But Jason and I played Samus Returns basically as companions. We were just constantly sending each other screenshots. Where are you at? Where are you doing? Like, here, I got the suit over here. I was doing this over there. And Samus Returns was the last Metroid game I rolled credits on, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great.
That is on my list as well, and that was a late one in the lifespan of the 3DS. Mm-hmm. So they waited a long time for another Metroid that wasn't like Hunter.
I wouldn't mind seeing that get ported forward one day. That'd be nice.
Definitely not. It'd be great. There's no reason not to. I think we may see them go to the well on some of these.
You could see Mercury's team like do Samus Returns and Dread's engine or something. That'd be kind of neat.
Yep, it could be done. It could be done. Look good, but yeah, Metroid Samus Returns was on my list as well. Let's go with the no-brainer. Just get this out of the way. Animal Crossing New Leaf. Still for
not
me
on my list.
Oh, wow.
I loved it too. Okay. I obviously, this, but listeners, I don't love Animal Crossing like you and Record do.
Yeah.
But I played like 60, 70 hours of New Leaf, and for me, that's a ton. That's as equivalent to you playing Animal Crossing for 200 hours. Me playing Animal Crossing for 60 plus hours, like that's insane.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's the penultimate Animal Crossing still, even over Horizons.
Oh, I played Horizons for like 4 hours and quit.
Yeah,
it's like absolutely not.
Horizon did not hit the same way as New Leaf, and New Leaf, like I dumped a ton of time into it, loved what they did.
We kept playing it. We got the campground expansion. They kept having events. Like
3 years later,
we played it for years. Yeah.
Yes.
It was good.
Later, they're like, hey, here's all this additional stuff that comes out, the campgrounds and the cards and all this stuff like that didn't exist before. You're like, I bought
my daughter her own Switch for just so she could play her own Animal Crossing.
3DS.
Yep. Yeah. I'm sorry. 3DS. Yeah. Bought her own 3DS just for that.
It is the best Animal Crossing out there, period. Still is. And yeah, that one was like, that was their like first, I think, like true evergreen title where the fact is it not only just sold forever, but the fact they supported it.
It was like a live service game. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that whole campground expansion just.
Why did they go so grindy with Horizons?
I don't know. And the fact that they were
it's so grindy.
And they dumped support right away. You had your seasonal events once and they never released. There was no changes to them. It's the same seasonal event with nothing else changed.
Like I that was the disconnect for me. Yep. I hate when I feel like games don't respect my time.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to build a new shovel. And I'm like, what? Why? I'm going to use the shovel the whole time. Like, that's what we do here. Why do I have to keep building shovels? Like, whose grand idea was that?
Yeah. Why can't I find stuff or buy stuff? Why does the shop rotation change more? Why do I need to craft everything?
Yeah, I was like, none of this happened in New Leaf. Why did you change all this? Like, for what? Did you think people weren't going to play it? We played the last one forever.
Yes.
That was the thing I could never wrap my head around. That's why I quit on it so fast.
Yeah, they made some weird choices. It didn't pay off, but yet, you know what? It still sold a ton. People are still playing it.
Still sold.
But for me, playing New Leaf and then going to this, I'm like, this is not the same. But New Leaf for me was definitely, I think, what I spent the most time playing on my 3DS overall would be.
Do you think when they lift the veil and Switch 2, and they have that presentation or that direct or whatever, do you think they'll talk about Animal Crossing?
Not right away, no.
There were games, I just want to point this out, when the Switch presentation was shown back in 2016, and it was January, not December, so 2016, I think, they showed Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Ooh, that's
and
true.
That game didn't come out for like 5 years.
That's true. I mean, so here's the thing. They
don't have to show a launch title. That's not necessarily what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But do you think they're like, and we're working on like just a snippet? We have an Animal Crossing is in development.
If they're smart, they will, because the whole boom of
I kind of agree.
COVID was because of Animal Crossing New Leaf. Hey, you could play this game, Animal Crossing New Leaf, because of Animal Crossing. They should, to get all those people who just jumped on the train off of that game to be like, why do I need this new one? Oh shit, there's a new Animal Crossing coming. Let's go. You know,
and I think
they should.
I think an announcement like that, kind of talking about what we said earlier, it gets away from Nintendo proved to me why I need the new hardware, why it makes my games better, and it gets away from that conversation and more into a conversation of I'm just so excited because there's a new Animal Crossing.
Yeah,
right. It's not because of how good it looks, or like it's just that there is a new one.
A new one. Yeah, they should. Marketing wise, they should. Whether or not they do, I don't know, but we'll see.
My next one I have is Shovel Knight.
Yep, that's on my list as well.
Yeah, which is amazing because it was Shovel Knight was 3DS, Wii U, day one on Switch. It's got 1,000 expansions and everything. But when Shovel Knight hit, it hit hard, and it felt like a perfect game on 3DS. Like it just fit right in with everything I was doing, and I loved it at the time. So when I think back on my 3DS games, I definitely think very fond of Shovel Knight.
Yeah, got Shovel Knight on there too. Same thing. Like it was kind of that we had so many games, right, that did that retro 8-bit, 16-bit thing, and we were all kind of like, oh god, there's more of these games coming out, and there was, largely they were not great. Shovel Knight changed the formula.
I still have the music and just saying the name, I hear the song, like it's so good.
Right, and that's what it respected and honored the legacy of what those games were, and it was just genuinely a good game on its own. Now, yeah, the 9,000 spin-offs, I don't think a lot of them were as good as the core thing, but just the fact that it existed and what it was, played it tons, and then the fact that the Shovel Knight team honored, you purchased the game, you got all the expansions later on for the next 4 or 5 years they were releasing stuff, and we got them for free afterwards anyway. Like, okay, I got this new expansion, guess I want to play this now. So it was a really cool, unique time capsule, I think, if you would, where it was a great quality game, and they just continued like loving the fans that were loving it for what it was at the same time. So yeah, that was on my list as well. So that's a dual one. I'm interested to see if this is on your list. We both like this one, and we both were surprised by it. Kirby Planet Robobot.
It's my next one. Of course. It's so good.
It was so good, and we weren't expecting it, right? Like
nobody gave it a chance, and that's fair. They really were pimping Kirby out hard.
Oh, sure.
Kirby had a damn spin-off for every game mechanic they could think of. There was a Kirby game for it. There was like 8,000 Kirby fighters and Kirby battlers and Kirby bots and Kirby carts and
Epic Yarn and
but Kirby Planet Robobot was the jam.
Yes, it was so good.
Right now we're living in this like nostalgia-filled era where they're remastering GameCube games, and we've had Sunshine, and they're doing Prime, and there's word out there that the Wind Waker and Twilight ports are coming. I'm hoping that one day some of this 3DS content comes forward.
Yeah.
Like really Link's Awakening does. And Kirby Planet Robobot is like the top of that list, man.
Absolutely.
I think A Link Between Worlds, but Planet Robobot deserves that Dreamland Deluxe treatment. Like I would absolutely rebuy and replay Planet Robot. It's so much fun. Kirby and Mechs works in a way that like it shouldn't. I need like a whole Kirby Armored Core game. Like it just totally works, man.
It was such a cool mechanic that just like wasn't. We hadn't seen that. Like you said, they gave Kirby every gimmick, and that one was a new one, and it just played well. It was fun. The levels were designed greatly. The enemies were interesting. The boss battles were different. Because let's be honest, like the Kirby bosses. How many times are we going to fight the Wispy Woods tree?
Oh, like, yeah, you're going to do that. Yeah.
You know, and yes, King DDD is going to show up. We know that. That's fine. Like, I get him. He's the Ganondorf. But, like,
Kirby the tree is like Goma. Crazy. Like, you're going to do it. It's a rite of passage.
Right. Where Robobot, you know, turned down its side. It was a cool mechanic. It was a lot of fun. And it was, like, that one Kirby game, I think, that stood out in that generation more than the others, hands down. So,
definitely.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
The next one on my list, I'm pretty sure is not on your list, but it's Fire Emblem Fates.
That one is not.
I went hard for Fates. I bought all the different versions. I played through all the different campaigns. That's not something that I do. I did not do it for Three Houses. I don't do it when they release these like Pokemon styled Fire Emblem games where they give you different stories. I usually just pick my house, my path, and do that. But with Fates, I was compelled. I loved Corrin, and I had to see the whole thing, and I even did the Conquest DLC too. I was all about it. I remember that time vividly. I think that was probably like my peak of 3DS. I think I just played Fire Emblem for like a year. I was just playing Fire Emblem.
Yes, you did. Like, you totally did.
I just kept playing Fire Emblem, just off and on, just keep playing it because I loved Fates. It's the one cart that I miss not having. I didn't spring for the special edition cartridge that had all of them on it. And it's like it's one of the few things that I'm like, I really wish I had done that.
I'm surprised they haven't done or at least talked about having like some sort of collection for these, like on the Switch.
I want a remake. I'll talk about that later. There's been one that I've brought up on Shaq in a different way for a long time. So I'll save it. But yeah, I would like to see them come back.
Okay. So to ride that train, then I have Fire Emblem Awakening.
That'd be the next one. That would be what I would call my number one game. Like that's probably my favorite 3DS game.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite 3DS Fire Emblem game. Probably my favorite Fire Emblem game. Period.
Same. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, it's my favorite Fire Emblem game. It was just so cool. Like that whole mechanic is great, and it was well done. The story was good. The characters were interesting. Not as disposable as some of the other entries for me, at least down the line. I liked Fire Emblem Awakening more than
the thing that I remember about that most, and it may be a lot of time and place. Remember, I told you I bought my 3DS largely because that game was announced. Like I got it with Mario, I bought Ocarina, but I bought the 3DS when they came out with the new XL model, and they were like, "And Fire Emblem Awakening is on the way." And I was shocked by how gorgeous the cutscenes in Fire Emblem Awakening were on a 3DS. I had never seen anything like it on a 3DS. That was like the moment where I was like, oh shit, portable games can be every bit as good as a console game. Fire Emblem Awakening was that moment for me. And the idea that I have, well, I would love a remake or a port, but the idea that I have for that is I want to see Fire Emblem Awakening Warriors.
Ooh, that would be real good.
Bring the story forward and the cutscenes and the characters and put it in the Muso. And like they've had this spin off. I think it's been good for them. They've made like 3 of these at this point. That's true. Last one was great. And I would love to see, it'd be a cool way of bringing back the old game, but making it new. And I would love to see like Awakening or Fates or Shadows of Valentia or something. I would love to see those adapted in the Warriors form. I think that'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. Yeah, I agree with you. That'd be cool. Yeah. Okay.
My next game, I'm going to put Smash Brothers 3DS.
Okay. Sure.
Again, going to that point, Smash Brothers on 3DS is literally like every bit as good as Smash Brothers on Wii U.
Oh, it was. It definitely was. It's not on my list, though.
Like, if you were like, I don't need a Wii U because I've got Smash Brothers on 3DS, like, I get it. Because it was excellent. It had all the same fighters. Not all the same stages, but it had its own set of stages that were like exclusive to it, but had most of the same stages. Like it was fully content parody with the console version. Like it really wasn't one's better the other. This is I'm going to use a quote, the portable version of this game. It was like, no, this is just a different version. Like it was a preference. It's like, which
Yeah,
one do
totally.
you like more? But like, I felt playing Smash was like, it plays like Smash. It plays. You could play the Wii U game with the 3DS. That's how well it played on 3DS. Yeah, for that whole epiphany of like really winning me over and making me a portable player, I think Smash Brothers 3DS was awesome. Like it's kind of maybe like forgotten how good it was to adapt that game to such a small, like technical handheld.
Yeah. That's fair. Not on my list, but yeah, you're. I don't disagree with you. It definitely should be on there. My next one. Hey Pikmin. I'm totally kidding. I just want to see your reaction to that. That was hot trash. What is on my list is another game that released pretty much the same time. I actually think it might have been the same time as it, and that is Miitopia. So I like this one. Another title that was late in the 3DS lifespan. And it utilizes the Mii characters in an RPG format that has been ported to Switch since. So we have seen that continued on, but that was a really fun game. I know you enjoyed it when you were playing it too, like putting the characters in there.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to get screenshots of your friends and like do Dumb's thing. It was cool, like friend, like GIF meme maker simulator thing. At a time before like socials were like really just getting going, at a more innocent time. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. Like, don't get me wrong, it was not winning any Game of the Year contents, but it was the most fun I had in a long time playing a game, and I think that says a lot for that. And it was just a unique way of taking that RPG formula, the turn-based combat that we've been beaten over the head with for the last 3 decades of gaming, and just made it a little more fun, a little more lighthearted. But it made you laugh as you went along. There was a lot of instances where I laughed out loud playing the game, and that doesn't happen very often. Like,
I remember we would use a lot of their stuff for like artwork and stuff in the early days of Shaq. We were like, let's get a screenshot of that.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it had to be on there just simply for
dude. Speaking of screenshots, we had Miiverse on 3DS, and we could do screenshots and share to Twitter and stuff.
Yep,
that's wild.
Yep.
Okay, my next one is Link Between Worlds.
That's on mine for sure. That was number one on my list.
I always say has grown on me over the years.
Okay.
Not that I didn't like it, but when this game came out, it was like people were like, "It's game of the year." Like it's incredible. It's one of the best ever. And people were very excited about how it broke the traditional models of Zelda and like, it was less hand holding, got out of your way. Well, honestly, a precursor to what Breath of the Wild would later become in spirit. And at the time I remember playing, I was like, this is just Link to the, like, it was so Link to the Past. I was like, I like it. It's cool. Like I beat it. It's Zelda. It's awesome. It's a good game, but it was so beholden to what I remember from Link to the Past that I felt like I couldn't let that go. I couldn't get beyond it. And as the years came by and I think this might be where it comes in, where I got more experience with portable Zeldas. And I played like Triforce Heroes and I played Link's Awakening and, and then we didn't have Zelda for many years. Yes. Like in the years, then I look back on it fonder. Like I wish I could have just let that go and just enjoyed it more for what it was and like let that be, because it is great. It is a great Zelda game. Yeah. Link's Awakening really opened my eyes to that because there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying they're wrong. There are a lot of people in the world that Link's Awakening is their favorite Zelda game, like top of the list. Sure. And when I played Link's Awakening, the whole time I was thinking how much better Link Between Worlds was. I was like, well, Link Between Worlds is way better than this game.
Yeah. I mean, so like Link to the Past was, my favorite Zelda game. So when this came out, I had a little bit of a different take on it. And you're right. Tons of people had the same thing where like, well, this is just Link to the Past again. And it's really not, but like, yes, it has the same mechanics. You have the dark world, you have the light world, you have the flat world, you have the 3D world. Like I get it. The parallels are there 100%. And visually its core base looks extremely similar. But for me, I just took it as like, here's another Zelda game in that same vein, because we don't get that often Zelda games that are sequels, right? You had the original Legend of Zelda 2, then you had, Breath of the Wild, and then Tears of the Kingdom. Like those are direct sequels. All the other Zelda games are like standalone games that don't tie into each other. So I took this one as the same thing. Like, well, this is just another Zelda that doesn't tie into it. It looks the same, yes, but it's a different game. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was something that, like, you're right, a lot of people poo-pooed on it for the same reasons as you were talking about initially. But for me, I was like, this is fantastic because it's taking the formula that I liked from before that I haven't seen again in a while, because we had Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, all the Skyward Sword, all those things, Twilight Princess. We had all these ones where it was like they were samey in the method of how you play them. Obviously, they had their own mechanics, their own gimmicks, but they were samey. This took it back old school. I'm like, okay, this is what I like. This is what I remember. So it's cool to see that different. Just like we have 3D and 2D Mario games that feel different, and they're fans of either one. For me, I took it the same thing as Zelda, where this was a 2D Zelda versus the 3D Zeldas. There's both market for both of them. I enjoy both of them, but I like them for different reasons. So it's cool to go back and revisit that in a method that still felt forward, because it was a new generation of that type of Zelda thing. But I love that. That was the second game I put on my list after Resident Evil Revelations. It was just the first game that came to mind after that.
Nice.
I only have two more that we haven't talked about, and I don't think this was going to be on your list. Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story.
Yeah.
Not sure if you're not a Mario RPG kind of guy. So,
nah.
Yeah. This one I liked. The Mario and Luigi series, all of the games. I've enjoyed most of them largely, because they took Mario in kind of a funnier direction. They had a little comedy to the series, made it a little bit more slapsticky. And plus, I'm a sucker for RPG games, or at least I was in that generation. A little out of it now, and traditional JRPGs, I should say. Took that same methodology, that same mentality, and kind of give you a cool story where, Mario and Luigi get shrunk and they go literally inside Bowser.
Yeah.
So that whole comedy dynamic there of what Bowser's experienced while they're inside of him and stuff like that too. So it was just a funny experience. There were a bunch of these games that were on the DS and 3DS, but this one for me was my favorite out of that series. That they did. And I'd like to see them do something like this on the Switch. Maybe Super Mario RPG, opens that door a little bit for more of these types of experiences. But I'm kind of surprised that, like, when the 3DS died, that this series just died too. When there's been, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 games that they did, and it just kind of like dropped and disappeared since then. But this was my standout favorite out of the series.
Yeah, I don't have anything I can say to the RPG game, but I do have something I'll just add to your point. Mm-hmm. Something that I miss from the 3DS and Wii U days, and I realize that it came out of probably an era of desperation. There are other games that have been, like, missing in MIA since then, and, like, and along with your RPG series, like, I really enjoyed the Donkey Kong, like the Mario versus Donkey Kong games, like those little puzzle games, and like the Picross games that they would do. Like there was a time when the 3DS was really going. Not only was Nintendo putting out Link Between Worlds and Planet Robobot and Fire Emblems and Pokemons, but they were making almost like indie versions of Nintendo games.
Yes.
$10, $15, $20 Nintendo games with Mario and Donkey Kong and Kirby. I would love to see more of that. Like, keep us engaged and keep people playing. So I would like to see a lot of that come back.
I agree with you. That'd be, like, why
is your last one Ocarina of Time?
No, it is not, sir.
I don't think I've got 4. Well, no, we already did Awakening. I have 3 left, so I'll just read them all now, and you let me know if one of them's yours.
Yeah.
Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Not on my list.
The last Pokemon game I really, truly loved.
Sure.
The Switch has been a huge miss for me on Pokemon.
Me too. Yep,
I have loved Pokemon on 3DS and played all I could get, and all I wanted was a Wii U one, and was so excited. I think we could probably rewind the tape and find a podcast of me before the Switch release talking about how great Pokemon was going to be. We could play it on the TV again. It was going to be so good. It has been like a disaster for me. I liked Let's Go. I did like Let's Go. I didn't love Let's Go, but I liked Let's Go, and I have basically not liked everything else.
I didn't like Scarlet, and that's what I have. I don't know. They gave it to me for review. I didn't like Scarlet much. Shield and Sword, I didn't even get into it. And, like, I mean, Pokemon Snap, I like.
It hurts. Really it hurts because I love I have spent hundreds of dollars on Pokemon cards. Yeah. And I'm like, these games are trash.
Yeah. X and Y almost made my list. That was like the cutoff. If I had 11, Pokemon X, Y was going to be my 11th one. That one I really enjoyed.
We deserve so much better. They make so much money.
Just go back to the formula.
And I know Rebecca's not here, so she can't stop me. Dude, the new Pokemon Snap sucks.
It's not as good.
Not as good.
It scratched my itch where I'm like, okay, it was more, and then I'm like,
it's just like
it didn't.
It's like Pokemon Selfie Simulator. Well, like, you can drive around and take pictures, but it's not like the thing that I don't like about the new Pokemon Snap is in the old Pokemon Snap, you could make all of these like chaotic interactions happen that were really funny.
Yes.
You could knock people off a bridge and knock them into the water, and then things happen. You electrocute Electabuzz and like funny things that would happen. And I never saw, and I tried. I never found anything half as good.
Some moments, but not.
And when I looked up other people, they're like, "Hey, did you know you could do this?" I was like, that's boring. Like I get it. You could do something, but it just didn't. It didn't hit the same. I wanted goofy. It didn't have the same heart. Pokemon Snap needed to be goofy.
Yes, 100%.
And it's not goofy.
Premise. It was a goofy premise. So why make it like a not? I'm with you.
It's an on-rails shooter.
Yeah. Literally.
My other two are Ocarina of Time 3D, which I think is the ultimate way to play that game. The best version of Ocarina of Time that exists to date is the 3DS version.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. For me, it was not. I enjoyed when they put it on the GameCube.
Okay.
Where they had to kind of touch up.
I could never get over the hurdle of how different it felt playing Ocarina of Time with a GameCube controller.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's fair. It's just for me, that game was too big for me to play on a handheld. Like those experiences that are like larger than life, I want to on the TV. So for me, that's why I did not make my list, because for me, that was one I needed on the TV. I didn't want it in the palm of my hand. It was just
I got you.
Grandiose for me.
I think, and I'm still nostalgic and I bring it up often, I don't think it'll ever get better than dual screen Zelda games.
Sure. Yeah.
Like it's something I miss.
Yeah. I want that menu or the map on the
bottom having the menu and the options and the quick commands and being able to like touch screen things. It was so nice. And swiping the inventory. Plus Ocarina of 3D got a visual upgrade. Everything is much sharper. It's brighter. It's more vibrant. It's a very beautiful game on 3DS. And I felt like the adaptation of the 64 controls to the 3DS were strong. Yes,
they were
good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every time I've ever tried to play Ocarina of Time, like virtual console on Wii U or so, I'm like, this isn't it. Like if you wanted to play Ocarina of Time on Switch, you almost have to buy a 64 controller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, cause playing it otherwise, where you've got to like hold the button to do the Z button, like that's atrocious. Like it's like, just buy the controller, just play it with the 64 controller. My last one's Mario Golf.
Okay. Oh, I didn't even think of that. Honestly, I didn't even think of that one. That makes perfect sense.
How about another live service game? Talk about one that missed. Yeah. I was stoked for Mario Golf to come to Switch, and it pales in comparison to how great Mario Golf World Tour was.
I wanted it to be good, and I was all for it. And then the second reviews came out, I was like, whoa, dodge a bullet. I'm glad I didn't buy it day one. So I'm like, nope, not for me. Yeah, that's no surprise it's on your list. So for me, the other one that I had that you did not have is Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. That was mine.
Are you excited for the remake?
I am. I'm excited for it. I hope that they do the original game too. Let's just put all three on there like we did with Pikmin. How you had them all there available. Do something similar, and I'm all for that as well. So I would love for them to do it, and I'm excited that I'll get to play this game on the big screen. And my wife is actually a big Luigi's Mansion fan as well, so she will also be excited to experience that game for the first time because she did not play it on. She didn't play handheld like at all. So she's a TV gamer. So she'll be looking forward to that one, as am I. So I'm all for it. Hopefully, like I said, they bring the first one too. Let's bring all three Luigi Mansions to the Switch.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I liked Dark Moon. But to me, it was more of like, this is like, Yoshi's Woolly World, a Kirby game. Like it just kind of fell into that tier.
Yeah. Yep.
I never was like all in on Luigi's Mansion's amazing. You've got to play it until 3. Yeah. 3, I was like, holy shit, this game is great.
But you know me, I like the weird stuff, so it was up my alley anyway. So it was just more of 1 and 2. It was portable, so it had me on there. So by all means, and you'll look at, like I said, so I made the joke about Hey Pikmin earlier, and like Chibi Robo Ziplash.
I forgot all about Chibi Robo Ziplash.
So good, I'm glad you did. But like for me, those are the gimmicky games that I loved. So when they came out with new iterations, I was always let down. Dark Moon did not let me down. It was more of the same, and I was happy with that. It didn't try to do something different. Yes, you added in the ghost dog, but that was it. So, yeah.
I forgot about that too.
I'm fine with that.
Well, I hope that's been a fun walk down memory lane, and just to get an idea of like how console launches are weird, guys. Like we're going to see developers that are going to talk about games they'll probably never release.
Yep.
Activision's going to be like, we can't wait to put Call of Duty there. Well, I guess they're contractually obligated now.
Now they have
What's the next one? Rockstar will be there. Like GTA 7 is going to be fucking amazing on the Switch too.
No,
like it's
GTA 7 won't even be out for the Switch too. What are we talking about? It's going to be 20 years from now.
console launches are wild. There's so many times, like it's such a sales pitch. They go so hard to build excitement. I love looking back on them. We were just doing this the other day in the Discord. You may have missed it. We were just talking about all of this like vaporware announcements we used to get at E3 and these weird projects and server. We're taking screenshots and sharing. Like
Where's
it's just
hyper realistic Zelda we never got.
So much fun to remember. Yeah, the Wii U demo.
Yeah.
The GameCube demo. Like we've got tons of it. It's so much fun to remember those and take it in.
Yeah.
Like take it in as we lead up to this new console. Like just take it in and really be along for the ride. Enjoy the ride.
Now to go along with the whole 3DS conversation, what are the odds that the Switch 2 has 2 screens?
Not a chance.
That's why it's 2.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
That would be kind of awesome.
That would be awesome, but
that's why
not
they
a
went to LCD screens,
chance.
because there's 2 of them.
I would love a clamshell again. That'd be great. That'd be so Nintendo.
Yep.
You know, like if Iwata was still there,
it folds.
if Iwata was still there, I would give it a chance. But even then, here's what they would do: you'd have the regular Switch that you could then like buy an attachment that you would like clip onto it, and it would sync somehow.
Yeah, and only 2 games will utilize that second screen though. So good
yeah,
luck.
I can see that. Well, Kev, thanks for coming out and hanging with the Shack, man. It's been great. Fun, you're hanging out with Flux. You're over at What the Flux Deposed. We let people go ahead and plug that. Tell people where they can find you and listen to more of your podcasts. Yeah,
as Donnie said, check out What the Flux Deposed. It's less gaming centric as I've more limited time podcasting, which is why I step back. It's kind of not relevant to any one specific subject. We talk about life and kind of just anything that interests us. So gaming, music, movies, books, whatever. But yeah, What the Flux Deposed. There's some changes coming up, hopefully to announce in the next couple weeks, month. But yeah, I'm over there. You can find me if you're interested and listen to me babble about old man stuff, because that's what I've come to. That's why Donnie dug me out for the 3DS. He's like, I need somebody old that remembers
somebody with some real years on them, you know? Like we need to pull out some legacy, some history here.
It's true. And I've been gaming my whole life. I've been there the whole journey from Atari to now, and I'm still doing it. So yeah, but yeah, check out What the Flux Deposed. You can find me on all the social medias at PSVG Kevin still. I still rep the brand as I was one of the OGs, as Donnie said. So
yeah, and Kevin reviews games for Game Reviews?
Gamesreviews.com. You can find me there. I typically review, 2 to 3 games a week at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm always doing stuff over there as well. So yeah, check that out.
If you're looking for a good reviewer, read his reviews, get the scores, follow along. He's out there doing things.
And I try to stay spoiler free too. So if you're looking for reviews that are safe, that don't give away story bits, I do not give away story bits or refuse to do that. That's not fair. I don't like it. So
it's important.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to do it, Shackers. I hope you enjoy the rest of your month with Rebecca and Delvin. I look forward to seeing you guys again at the end of the month. And who knows? What if they'll announce the Switch and I won't even be here to talk about it? It'd be wild.
Ooh, that's true.
That'd be crazy.
Hey, can I say the tagline? Can I
do it?
Never stop gaming. Whenever you're ready.
All right. This is Frederick from Fire Emblem Awakening. And I forgot the line already. What?